Hey, welcome to section 9 to the Crash Web Tech course. We've reviewed the basics and the concepts of HTML and CSS. We have defined the concepts for IDs and classes and tags for styling for the CSS. Also being able to define CSS with the style tag and also linking an external file into the you know um, the link tag because it's a actual link. And now we are also going to do the inline styling, which is normally considered a bad practice, but it's good to know for you when you see it, and also define some positioning and paddings. Now keep in mind that it's really tricky and it gets a lot of time to get used to it, so I'm just going to demonstrate how it seems and how it actually works really in general quickly for you to know what are the general ideas. So what I'm going to do now is create a new document, which is the boxes.html. The naming doesn't really matter as soon as it's HTML. We're going to do the well-known doc type HTML, defining the HTML syntax, then defining the body. And now we have the important part for our document. So let's do boxes, which is our title for our document. Opening the boxes, and we'll see that it's defined now. Now, since it's a title, what we need to do some h1 because it's the heading. And so far so good. Oops. If the save didn't pass, so now it's okay. Now, I'm not going to link the other document because I don't want to use this styling just for the sake for our demo, but I want to do several boxes of data. Now we already know that we have the paragraphs, and the paragraphs are the logical structural entity for a text paragraph. Now if we have a chapter of a book, we want to have different paragraphs that might be indented or anything like this. But if we have a given structure like a given website, we actually need to have dividers, we need to have boxes. And the popular structure, the important and well-known tag in HTML is actually the div tag, which is building something like paragraphs, but it's actually a logically structured units that are a bit larger semantically than paragraphs. So we might have something like the header, and then we have the content, and then we might have the footer, which are our dividers as entities. And then again, in the header part, we might also have something else, like for instance in the header we might want to have 3 different columns or something. So it might be column 1. I'm going to copy that, maybe copy it this way, code 2 and code 3, which is 3 different concepts. But now what we're going to find out is that actually all of these columns are on a new line, because that's how the divider works. It's a block element instead of an inline document, which means that all of the entries are therefore aligned on a new line. So first off, let's get to the inline styling. Now we already learned that the good practice is to always use another external style sheet, define it like this, define the styles in a new file, and just link them in another file. But technically, and something that's, like I said, considered a bad practice unless you have a very good reason to do it with JavaScript or something, is that you can use this style attribute and actually define style here. Like for instance, you might say color cone red, and it's going to be defined here as a red cone. Again, it's normally considered a bad practice. There are several cases where this might be useful, but most of the time it's not. But it's still good to know what it is when you see it in some old code. So now what we can do is to actually work on the styling concept. Like we said, the div is considered an display block, so it's a block structure instead of inline structure. So what we can normally do is we can change the style to display inline, which whenever we refresh is not going to do anything. But if we do want to, let's say, hide it, we can do display none, and it's actually going to hide the document even if it's in the source code. So it's just a way to see how it works. Something else that you can do is for these elements to actually do, say, float left, which is going to align the components one next to the other. So another thing is that you can go again here and start for the next one, float left, and it's going to be aligned. Now you can use semicolons here if you wanna list several entries, or you can omit them. HTML is going to allow both of them, so you can also do like this and it's going to be accepted. Now if you want to do some some spacings, you can do it in several ways. Like you might want to pass some specific width, like 300 pixels, and whenever you refresh it's going to be listed, and your first element is going to have 300 pixels of width. Or you can also, which is going to probably be smarter in some ways only, is to define specific say padding, which is, say, padding right is going to be 20 pixels, and it's going to add a padding. Now for the spacings part, you have two arguments. One is the margin, which is the external border, the other one is the padding. Like I said, it's getting pretty complicated when it gets to spacings and positioning, so I'm not going to get into details, but just showing some general concepts. Another thing that you can do is the positioning, and if you use this styling here, you can do position, say absolute, and whenever you store it, it's going to be listed somewhere upstairs, which is not cool. And you can say do the following. You can create a bottom, since it's an absolute position 0, and look, it's going to list it down there because this div inherits to this div and inherits to the body, and generally the place where it can resides currently is here. So you can do a lot of fancy things. Currently you can also do the, say, fixed position, which is going to be down there. That's what, for instance, Facebook uses for its status bar thing when they have the chat and something. But these are again just some concepts of how you can do indentation and everything into the CSS styles. It's get pretty complicated, and if you decide to do front-end work, you need to get used to that. But so far, we are just reviewing the basic concepts. However, the next practice is going to be for PHP. So far, that's all for the HTML and CSS blocks.